Those videos, Jesse, I'm not sure if I should laugh or cry that this is the current state of the modern day Democrat Party.
Hundreds of thousands of Americans have joined nationwide protests against President Donald Trump's trade tariffs and the radical shakeup of U.S. politics driven by his administration.
How about those hands-off protests? Cute title, right? But hands-off is pure progressive branding. Big emotion, zero accuracy.
More than 3 million Americans took to the streets in just 48 hours, marking one of the largest protest mobilizations since the George Floyd demonstrations in 2020. The movement, dubbed Hands Off, has erupted in cities nationwide, with demonstrators chanting against President Trump's latest policy pushes, including controversial federal cutbacks and the proposed expansion of Project 2025. But while the optics suggest a spontaneous, grassroots uprising, there's growing evidence that something much more coordinated and politically motivated is at play. Social media feeds have been flooded with nearly identical protest signs, hashtags, and talking points, raising eyebrows among even casual observers. The synchronized messaging has sparked online theories that this is no ordinary protest. It's a scripted campaign. In response, White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt stepped into the spotlight, declaring she has uncovered a carefully orchestrated effort by well-funded political actors to manipulate public outrage for partisan gain. Her claim? The protesters are being organized, mobilized, and in some cases even paid by left-wing organizations operating behind the scenes. This revelation has ignited a firestorm. Some Americans are praising Leavitt for pulling back the curtain on what they believe is a media-fueled anti-Trump operation. Others accuse her of attempting to delegitimize a valid expression of public dissent. But the deeper question remains: who is really behind the protests, and what's their endgame? As the drama unfolds in real time, one thing is certain: this isn't just about Trump. It's about the future of protest, power, and political manipulation in America.
They are enjoying their lowest approval rating ever because this is who they are trying to represent. These far-left activists who don't stand for anything. They only stand against Donald Trump, and they hate, as you just heard from that one individual who wished death upon the President of the United States, they not just hate him, they hate the nearly 80 million Americans who elected to vote him. The Democrats have officially become the party of crazy. President Trump and the Republicans are the party of common sense.
Karoline Leavitt, the youngest White House press secretary in U.S. history, has become a prominent figure in the Trump administration's defense against mounting public opposition. In recent press briefings, Leavitt has accused a coalition of progressive organizations, including the 50501 movement and Indivisible, of orchestrating the hands-off protests. She argues that these groups are not merely grassroots movements, but are part of a larger, well-funded campaign to destabilize the administration. Leavitt's assertions have sparked a nationwide debate, with supporters praising her transparency and critics accusing her of deflection. The protests themselves have drawn attention for their scale and coordination, leading many to question the authenticity of their grassroots origins. As the nation grapples with these demonstrations, understanding the motivations and organizations behind them becomes paramount. This video aims to delve into the origins of the hands-off protests, examine the key players involved, and analyze the implications of Leavitt's revelations. By exploring the intersection of political activism and misinformation, we seek to uncover the truth behind these unprecedented demonstrations.
The Democrat Party has been completely captivated by these far-left lunatics, and I'm not sure which Democrat on Capitol Hill is going to stand up and be the sensible voice, but I won't hold my breath, and best of luck to them if one chooses to stand up.
The hands-off protests represent a significant challenge to the Trump administration, not only in terms of public perception, but also in the realm of political discourse. The scale and coordination of these demonstrations have raised concerns about the spread of misinformation and the manipulation of public opinion. Leavitt contends that the protests are less about genuine civic engagement and more about a strategic effort to undermine the administration's legitimacy. Misinformation has become a pervasive issue in modern politics, with social media platforms serving as breeding grounds for false narratives and propaganda. The hands-off conscripts protests have been no exception, with conflicting reports and exaggerated claims circulating online. This environment of uncertainty complicates the public's ability to discern fact from fiction, further polarizing an already divided nation. The impact of these protests extends beyond the immediate political landscape, influencing public perception and shaping the national dialogue. As citizens are bombarded with conflicting information, trust in institutions and leaders erodes, leading to increased skepticism and disengagement. Addressing the challenges posed by misinformation and coordinated activism is essential to preserving the integrity of democratic processes. Delving deeper into the organizations behind the hands-off, protests reveals a complex network of progressive groups with varying agendas. The 50,501 movement, named for its goal of organizing protests in all 50 states, has been instrumental in rallying citizens against the Trump administration. Their campaigns have spotlighted issues ranging from LGBTQ+ rights to environmental concerns, showcasing a broad spectrum of progressive causes. Indivisible, another key player, emerged in response to Trump's first term, providing resources and guidance for grassroots activism. Their involvement in the current protests underscores their continued influence in shaping public dissent. The Women's March, known for its massive turnout in 2017, has reactivated its base in response to recent policy shifts, further amplifying the reach and impact of the demonstrations. Leavitt argues that these organizations, while presenting themselves as grassroots, are part of a coordinated effort to destabilize the administration. She cites synchronized messaging, uniform protest materials, and simultaneous nationwide events as evidence of a centralized command. Critics, however, view this as a classic case of political scapegoating, emphasizing the importance of distinguishing between genuine civic activism and orchestrated political theater. The pivotal moment in this unfolding narrative occurred when Leavitt, during a nationally televised interview, unveiled what she termed the protest playbook. She presented documents allegedly linking protest organizers to prominent Democratic donors and political strategists, suggesting a deliberate effort to manufacture public outrage. This revelation sent shockwaves through the media, prompting both outrage and skepticism. Supporters of the administration viewed this as validation of their claims about a deep-rooted conspiracy to undermine the presidency. Conversely, protest organizers dismissed the documents as misrepresented or taken out of context, accusing Leavitt of fear-mongering. The nation watched as the narrative unfolded, each side entrenched in their beliefs, further highlighting the deep divisions within the country. This moment underscored the blurred lines between activism and subversion, raising critical questions about the authenticity of political movements and the influence of external forces. As citizens grapple with these revelations, the importance of transparency and accountability in political protests becomes increasingly evident. The need for informed civic engagement has never been more pressing. The hands-off. Protests signify more than just opposition to specific policies. They represent a broader struggle over the direction of the nation. Karoline Leavitt's exposé has added layers of complexity to this narrative, challenging perceptions and prompting introspection. As the dust settles, one thing remains clear: America is at a crossroads. Understanding the motivations behind these protests is crucial. Whether one views them as genuine expressions of dissent or orchestrated political maneuvers, their impact on the national discourse is undeniable. In this era of information overload, discerning fact from fiction becomes ever more essential. As citizens, staying informed and critically evaluating the sources of our information is paramount. Only then can we engage in meaningful dialogue and shape the future of our democracy. What are your thoughts on the hands-off the protests and Karoline Leavitt's revelations? Do you believe these demonstrations are grassroots movements or politically orchestrated events? Share your perspectives in the comments below. If you found this analysis insightful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell.